live, yay! We're live, yay! Okay, just checking the sound, making sure everything is working. We're live, yay! Okay, give me a second here. I'm going to share the link over to the other pages, of course, before we get started. Live, yay! Okay, give me a second here. I'm going to share the link over to the other pages, of course, before we get started. Live, yay! Give me a second here. I'm going to share the link over to the other pages, of course, before we get started. Nope. Sorry. Give me a second here. I'm going to share the link over to. We do not want that. Pages, of course. Okay. Nope. This. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Want that. Pages, of course. Okay. Nope. This. Sorry. Yes. Okay. Not want that. Good enough. Thank you for your patience. Hang with me for just a sec. Good enough. Thank you for your patience. Hang with me for just a sec. Enough. Thank you for your patience. Hang with me for just a sec. Enough. Thank you for your patience. All right. Good enough. Okay. Mike, hey, how are you? There was an echo. Yes, I had the volume up to just check to make sure that the audio was coming through, and it is, Mike, but there should be no echo now. Everything there was an echo, yes. I had the volume up to just check to make sure that the audio was. Let me know if it's not. This is my first time and it on is, but there should be no echo YouTube doing a live event, so like I said, please to just check to make sure that let me know if it's let me know. This is my first time. The quality looks okay as far as video so far. You know, I think it might be a little bit less than let me know. Facebook, but it looks okay as far as video so far. You know, I think it might be a little bit less than let me know. Facebook, still hear an echo. Looks okay as far as video so far. You know, I think it might be a little bit less than let me know. Let's see if we can figure that out. Still hear an echo. Looks okay as far as video so far. You know, I think it might be a little bit less than let me know. Let's see if we can figure that out. Still hear an echo. Looks okay as far as video so far. You know, I think it might be a little bit less than let me know. Let's see if we can figure that out. Check 1 2. Sorry, one sec here. All right, is there still an echo? We got it? Better? No echo? We're doing all right? It's good now. Okay, excellent, great. Fantastic. So, thank you for joining me. What I need to do, hey Evelyn, how are you? So tomorrow, every month here in Philly, there's the Philly Guitar Club Jam. And we get together at the local Sam Ash music store. They are our gracious hosts because they have a stage set up, PA, lights, like everything. It's awesome. And myself and my band here in Philly, are Pixo. Sorry, I'm not gonna. I'm apologizing if I obliterate your name, but hello, how are you? He's from France. Excellent. Anyway, it's a great opportunity that we do every month for people to come out and jam. You don't need to know any songs. It's all improv. Very cool place to get out of your house. A lot of people don't have the opportunity to just go and jam with a band and do some improv. It's an awesome test for your musicianship. Go meet other players. We have a coffee social afterwards. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, hey Brian, how are you, man? Good to see you. So I am just building a new board for the jam tomorrow, and this is going to be a real simple process. And I'll tell you kind of what I think about when I am, sorry, hang on a second here. When I'm building a board. Hey, Hanner, how are you? James, hey man, good. Come on out tomorrow. I think it's pretty self-explanatory. When you want to put together a pedal board, I think the best thing to do first is know what is this board supposed to be. Conceptually, what are we talking about here? Is this a simple board with some pedals? Is this maybe a switching-based board where you're going to have some sort of MIDI controller to control your pedals? And are you going to need loops and all that kind of stuff? So conceptually, you want to kind of have that, at least the big picture of this down. This is supposed to be a real simple board. No switching, simple pedals, just really, really simple. And I always, as much as we all love gear and love big boards and big racks and all that kind of stuff, when you actually start playing and you get out of your house, you realize the importance of having things being light and simple and et cetera, et cetera. You got to remember, more gear on the board or your rack or whatever it is, there's more cabling and there's more power that's needed and more chance for things to diminish your tone. So you got to think about that. And then more chance for things to just go wrong. And we want to make sure that that's not going to happen, right? So, do I still have the 7-string IB? I have one hanging back here in the corner. That's the second one, the orange and silver one, and I do have a blue and green one still. My first two Ibanez 7 strings that Ibanez built for me, they have been for sale for a while. If anybody's interested, let me know, but they are not going to be cheap because they are impossible to get. You can't get an Ibanez custom guitar unless you're an endorsee. So therefore, they warrant the value more than you can go and pay Gibson, Fender, PRS, et cetera, et cetera. Anyway, so again, the concept for my board here is very simple. Simple board, no switching. So the next thing that I do is think about what do I want to have on this board. So let me show you the board here. I'm going to switch over to another shot. And hopefully the echo does not happen in this new shot as well. Let me know if it does. But this is the board that I've got. This is made by Gator. It's a very nice, simple pedal board. This is 24 by 11, and it comes in a really nice hard case. And I believe the package itself is maybe $200, $220, something like that. But this is, it's a pro board, and it comes with a pro hard shell case that I would absolutely have no problem throwing this under a plane and going and doing a world tour with. And for $220 or whatever it is, I think it's a great value. That's why I got this one. It's got nice hardware on it as far as nice handles. Underneath it, it's got some feet, so the front of it has lower feet than the back of it. And I know these are all like simple little dorky things, but they really make a difference when you are putting together a board. And again, they make a huge difference when you're working with it every day, when you're out actually touring, not just sitting at home. You're sitting at home with gear, great, but if you don't have to move it, that's one thing. When you have to move this stuff, it's got to be solid, lightweight, etc., etc. So, you know, that's why I look for stuff like this, especially if it's not a custom type of thing. The pedal boards that I've been touring with for the last 15, 18 years, they were custom built for me by A&S Case out in LA. So, you know, anything custom is going to be more expensive. You got a lead time that you got to plan for so they can make the board and they can make the case. I mean, now they kind of have stock. I think most companies would, but it's nice to be able to go to like, I think I got this from, I might have gotten it directly from Gator, but Sweetwater has these things. You know, it's nice to just be able to jump online and just order something and have it there as quick as you want it with your shipping. That's pretty awesome. So I really like these Gator boards. They are pro-worthy, the board and the case. Hanner, if you're interested in those guitars, just shoot me an email. You know, message me on Facebook or something. Have you ever thought that pedals could be attached by magnets to the board, or does that affect the sound? I have never messed around with that. Maybe it affects the sound, I don't know. Let's experiment with that and let us know. I always just use Velcro. You know, it's not expensive, really holds the pedals to the board very nicely, and I'll tell you, the Velcro that I get, it's just the Velcro that you could walk into Home Depot or even Walmart. I think they have the same. It's literally just Velcro brand Velcro. It's called the Industrial Strength, but it's what I've always used, and I've never ever had a pedal come off a board. And my boards have literally been thrown around planes and venues all over the planet, again, for decades. And I've never had a problem. And so that's the board. That's the board that we're going to be working with today. So the next thing that I do when I'm thinking about these boards is, what do I want to have effects-wise? What's going to go on this board? So you can see a bunch of Strymon pedals down here. So I have, and I just got these two last week, and I have no affiliation with Strymon. I don't know them. I simply talk about and use what I think is the best stuff out there right now. Strymon, for my ears, is making the best stuff out there right now. The engineering from the inside out is just really smart. You know why? Because first of all, every knob has a secondary function, so you get so much out of these pedals. They have their analog pass-through, which means half of your signal never gets converted to digital. It stays analog and goes straight to the output. You only mix in the digital. That's an awesome thing to retain as much of your original tone as possible. That's really cool. To my ears, it does work, and it warrants me buying a lot of Strymon stuff. And I have these are the simpler Strymon pedals here. Sorry, let me get this up. So this is the Ola, this is a chorus. So back to my question of what do we even want to have on this board? Delay and reverb. I like a delay and a reverb. So for my delay, I'm going to be using the Strymon, sorry, it's hard to look this way while moving a pedal this way. I'm going to be using the Strymon Dig, which is a fantastic delay pedal. For reverb, I'm going to be using the Strymon Blue Sky. So those are the delay and the reverb that I'm going to use. And then also I like now more than ever. I never really liked chorus and any of those kinds of pedals, but now I really enjoy chorus, phaser, flanger, rotary, vibe, filters, formants, like all of that kind of stuff as subtle texture is really what I like to use that kind of stuff for. So I'm going to be using the Strymon Ola which is a fantastic chorus. It's actually also a vibrato, but I will never use that. And then the Lex Rotary, which is a Leslie simulator, and just absolutely fantastic. Now, I've got a board, which you can't see, but it's down here on the floor. I've got a nice big Friedman pedal board, and on there I have Strymon's big pedals, the Timeline, the Big Sky, and the Mobius. But, you know, they are all MIDI. They all have menus and all that kind of stuff, and they are fantastic. But for this particular board, I don't want MIDI, I don't want menus, I want just simplicity. So that's why I went for the individual pedals here. So I'm just gonna put these back here. Do you like the Strymon Riverside? I think I did try that one. Actually, I was on tour last year, or maybe the year before, the last US tour I did with Vi. I think we had a day off in Dallas. So my buddy Brian Meter, who works for the Guitar Sanctuary down there in McKinney, great store, stopped by there for the day, and I believe I plugged into one there, and I thought it was cool, but it didn't make me want it. It didn't make me have to get it, you know? As soon as I played the Lex and the Ola and the Dig and the Blue Sky, I was like, those are all just ridiculously fantastic. My tone sounds great. They have so many functions while still being very simple pedals. You know, they're not the cheapest things out there, but what they do in the engineering, I'm continuously impressed by what Strymon is doing. And again, I have no affiliation with this company, so I'm simply talking out of my preference. Hey Barry, how are you? May have answered this already. Where do you plan on using this board? This is just for jamming, you know, just to grab it, go to the Philly Guitar Club jams, or jamming with my band Visible at Night. We're in the process of writing. We're gonna have a record out this summer, so grab this and be able to go. That's why I chose something that was, you know, again, this is 24 by 11, but still has a very pro-worthy case and blah, blah, blah. Just nice to be able to throw something like this, very simple, to just go and jam, you know. No switching involved, etc., etc. So as far as my delay, my reverb delay, and some texture, I call these texture pedals, so chorus and the rotary, that's what I want. And then the other things that I'm gonna need, I want obviously I want a tuner. I'll put a compressor on the board, even though sometimes I don't use it. I love compression, but I love compression from the amp, or naturally from an overdrive. It's when I'm not really pushing an amp, or I'm not really using an overdrive, that's when I'll kick in a compressor, just to give the whole sound a little bit more chewiness to it. Are you planning on taking a certain amps with you, or using backlines? I'm doing great. Hope your health is better. Thanks. I am feeling better. Thanks. I am a little under the weather. Amps, I'll tell you, just to answer that question specifically, like tomorrow at the Philly Guitar Club Jam, I'm going to be taking the Friedman Mini Dirty Shirley, which is that size. That's the Friedman Pink Taco, which is a little 20-watt head. It's the same size as that, but it's the Dirty Shirley version of it. Just a fantastic sounding amp, nice and small, and a Friedman 112. There's no channel switching in there, so I may not put channel switching on this one tonight. I may come back, and as a matter of fact, I can probably tell you I will come back and rearrange things once I put this together and live with it and make sure it's cool as far as just a simple non-switching board. Then I will go through and do custom cabling for it, custom power cabling for it, etc. Tonight we're just going to use pre-existing cabling just to put this together as quickly as possible. But sorry, to answer your question, a Friedman Mini Dirty Shirley is what I'll be using tomorrow. Hey Scott, if you could, would you explain how you choose the order you put your pedals in the signal chain, and what factors go into your decision? Yeah, definitely. We will definitely be talking about that. And that leads me back around to what I was mentioning. You know, you can. I know you can't see, but before I do a pedal board build, again, you think about conceptually what you want. And now we're talking about, this is stuff I've already thought of. What do I even want on the board? So on my desk here, I've got a lot of stuff that is already planned, and we're going to talk through that. Everything from zip ties and Velcroed anchors, which I'll show you in a second. I've got power supplies, I've got overdrives, compressors, I've got pedal risers, I've got a junction box, and all sorts of stuff. And of course, you gotta have some must-have things like Haribo gummy bears. You gotta have Haribo gummy bears. You gotta have things around. I mean, I'm doing this kind of stuff. I'd usually have a beer, but I'm sick, so I'm trying to avoid that kind of stuff. But you gotta have gummy bears, because that's healthy. And the last thing anybody wants to do is listen to me eat gummy bears, but I'll get through this one. Have you ever tried jamming with Rivera amps? I can only give you my opinion based off of what I've played, and I've never owned a Rivera amp. I have tried them a couple of different times, and great stuff. I just found them, for my ears, and I know that you can tweak it. I know you can get different amps, and it's been probably a decade since I've played one. But it was upper mid-range aggressive to my ears. Mesa Boogie to me, those are mid-range aggressive. Friedmans and Marshalls, they have a bit of a mid-range to them, but I found the Mesas to be very mid-rangey. And I used to have a bunch of Mesas. I don't have any more. I actually want to get one back. And the Riveras, I mean, Paul Rivera, the guy is a genius. He knows what he's doing. And I think if I revisited the amps, I could be able to find one in his range that I would work with. But again, it was like, for me, I plug into an amp and within 5 seconds, literally 5 seconds, I know if I'm going to gel with it or not. If I have to start tweaking, it's not the right one for me. So that's just kind of how I felt about the Rivera stuff. I'm sure he's making awesome stuff, and I'm sure I could find something that would be killer that that he's making now. Anyway, let's get back to the pedals, what's going to go on this board, and the order of the pedals as Scott was asking. So like I was saying, I know I'm going to need a tuner. I'm probably going to use just this little guy here, a little TC Poly tune, just because I think they're good tuners. I think the Petersons are better. I'm going to be honest with you. I've got 3 Peterson tuners around here because I just find that they are the most accurate. So I might put one on this one eventually, but for now, I'm thinking of just putting the little, this little poly tune on, on the board. And you'll notice that I do start to place pedals on the board as I start to pull them off of I have a giant shelf ladder thing over here where all my pedals are. But I don't lay them down yet because, then they start to get Velcroed. So I kind of just start to place everything around there. So one of the first things I'm going to get into, obviously, is the tuner. For a compressor, I love this guy, the little Wampler Mini Ego compressor is my compressor of choice right now because it's little and it sounds really, really, really good, and it's very easy to use. I love this little guy. I've always liked the Ego compressors. If you've seen me on a Vitor in recent years, except for the last one, just to change it up a little bit, I was back on a Keeley compressor. Keeley's compressors are legendary. We all know that. But I was using the big two big versions of the Ego that Brian puts out, one for acoustic and one for electric, and they're just amazing. This thing just is so good. It's really fantastic. So, and I'm probably going to put that up front, right next to the tuner, kind of probably the second thing I'm going to hit. And then I start getting into drives, different kinds of drives. And, honestly, I use drives very subtly. It's not like I'm going to put it in front of a Fender Clean amp and I'm looking for a second channel. When I use a drive, I'm looking for a little push into the front of the amp, maybe some color, but that depends on the sound that I'm going for. What do you think about True Temperament frets? I don't own any guitars that have them. I'm sure they work really great. I know Steve has some, but I don't have any guitars that have that on there, so I don't really have an opinion on it. One of the pedals that has been a staple for many people for a long time is the exotic EP booster. And I'll tell you what, I stopped really using these when I started playing the Friedman amps back in 12. Only because I didn't feel like those Friedman amps needed any kind of colored boost. And this is a colored boost. This is a nice, warm, big, fat sounding boost pedal. And it is awesome. It really, really is. I pulled it out because I might use it, but I have not lately because I've been playing a lot of the Friedman stuff. And then I'll probably put this guy on the board. So this is, the exotic RC booster. This is the Scott Henderson edition. This is a really old one. So the only difference, I believe, with the Scott Henderson version of the old one was it just had a little bit more low end to it. But it's a really great boost. Very subtle amount of gain. So I will usually leave the gain all the way up. And again, it's very clean. This is a transparent boost. Just to push the front end of the amp a little bit more, just a little bit more gain. So I'll probably put that one next. And then I got to go with some kind of, Tube Screamer-ish type thing. And I have wait. No. Next, I'm going to go with this. So this is my blues pedal. This was built for my specs a long time ago, and unfortunately the guy that built it died. I am talking with a company right now about mass producing this. I don't know if that will happen with that particular company, but if it doesn't, I will simply go to another and just find some good people that right time to make this particular kind of pedal. So it's a blues pedal because one, it's very simple. Two, it's not a lot of gain. It's more gain than this, but it's not as much gain as you'll find in something like this. So it's just the right amount of gain. This pedal is magic. Every single guitar I play through it, single coils or humbuckers or mini buckers or whatever, into any amp I put this on top of, whether it's a Friedman, a Marshall, a Fender, or an AC30, this thing just sounds awesome through it. So I'm trying to get this to the masses with the right people. And again, the right people just means their release schedule is going to work out. They're looking for this kind of thing, so it'll happen. So that's probably going to be next. And then I'll just do this. And then then I'll throw something with a little more color to it. And this got a little bit of darkness to it, but not as much as a Tube Screamer type thing. So this is a Maxon unmodified OD9. I personally do not feel like Maxon's pedals need to be modified at all. So I have a bunch of different kinds of green flavors from Maxon and, Tube Screamers as well. The Tube Screamers I have, though, they're all modified either by Keeley or when he was modding pedals, which of course he doesn't anymore, or most recently I picked up a few of Analog Man's Tube Screamers, and they're fantastic. So I just happened to grab this one off the wall. It's just a nice plain Tube Screamer type of pedal. And I think that's it for the front row. And so what I'm doing here is kind of going in order of amount of gain. Why? There is no real reason. There's no real reason why. The RC is great. Yes, I love the RC guy right here. Good to know about the EP. I'm saving up for the Friedman BE50 Deluxe. Good grief, what an amp. I'm supposed to do a demo for Friedman with that amp, so that might be happening soon, once NAMM is over and such. But anyway, just for me, I go from less amount of gain to more. Again, there's no real reason. I am not a player who really gain stacks, so putting one in front of the other, to me, does not really make a difference. I don't gain stack again because I rely on the amp for my game. If I'm gonna step on one of these boxes, as you are out in the audience, you won't hear a difference. It's for me. It's a very, very, very slight color. It's a very, very slight volume. It's a very, very slight gain boost. Because I'm already playing over gain. You know, I want my amp to do what it's doing with the tubes. You're not gonna find better natural, organic compression and saturation than you will from a tube. These, obviously, all of our favorite pedals, which they're all awesome and we love them, they're not tube. They do their thing. They do their thing, and that's awesome. I just know that for me, the amp is where I'm gonna want my gain. These are all just little subtle additions, enhancements, et cetera, et cetera. Got my BE a few weeks ago. My neighbors hate me now. Yeah, good. The BE is a monster. Mine is sitting around here somewhere, but that's been my main touring amp for the last 6 years now, since 12. I bought one that Dave Friedman built, and it's the old style. Not that means anything. I love it. Friedman kept saying, "Why don't you bring it in and we'll modify? We'll bring it up to spec or up to the what we're doing now." And I was like, you know what? I don't want to. I love the way it sounds. I said I'll get another one, and with all the modifications that they've made to the old one, but I've kept the old one. I really like it. It's simpler, and I think it sounds amazing. Are you done using the Eventide H9, or do you still use it? I have two, and again, if I've been using the H9s since 2012. Maybe I'm lying. I used it 14, 15, and 16 on the last VI World Tour. I think I used it before then in 13 and 12. Maybe. I might be lying. I don't know. I don't remember. Fantastic pedals. Absolutely fantastic Swiss Army knife pedals, right? I loved the delays and reverbs were great. I was not crazy about the modulation stuff, the chorus, phaser, flanger. Not that anything was bad at all. I mean, it's Eventide. You're not going to go wrong with anything that Eventide is making or TC is making. There's so many great companies out there. Those two are really at the top of the game. But I just... if I'm going to use an H9, I mean, and I need to save a lot of space, sure, I'll use an H9, but it's not the easiest pedal, and you kind of have to break out your iOS device to really use it to its potential. This board is all about simplicity. I don't want to have to dive into my phone or bring my iPad to change a preset, So I lent my one H9 to my buddy Scott, and my other one is sitting over here on top of my AC30. Yeah, fantastic stuff. But this one is just about single, non-MIDI, just very simple pedals. Gotta say, I got that because of you. Oh, well, that's cool. It's very flattering. And I can talk up that amp and pretty much everything Friedman is making, because it's like this Strymon stuff. I don't get paid to talk about it at all. I paid for all of this stuff sitting right here. It's just stuff I'm gelling with right now, and that's really all that matters when you're picking gear. Just want to say you're the man. Best teacher I ever had. Well, thank you. I appreciate that. Took lessons from you back in 2001 when you lived off Hollywood Boulevard in 101. Wow. That's a long time ago. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate that, and good to see you again. For sure. So, this is what I do when I'm choosing my pedals. Concept materializes into the pedals that I want to use. I kind of start to lay them out upside down so that I'm not constantly having to yank them off the board, because again, this Velcro is the simple stuff you go and buy at Home Depot or Walmart, and it just works like... I mean, I'm lifting the board off right now just by very simply placing this RC booster down. So just to save some time and some energy, I kind of lay everything out like this. And if this is what I'm going to go with, I don't know. I may simplify. I may not use the EP. Or maybe I will, I don't know. I'm feeling how heavy these EPs are. I didn't remember that compared to like, this is nothing, this is nothing. And most of the mini pedals that are out now, you know, this came out kind of at the forefront of the mini pedal revolution. And that's a weighty pedal. Wow. It's a very, very cool pedal though. Exotic makes great stuff. So what else? What else do we need to choose here? What else am I thinking about? I'm thinking about, well, we have to think about power. So I've got a few supplies here. They are all Strymon, and I will not name the name of the power supply, but I had a board, and sounded great, but it was a little noisy. Enough that it made me kind of start thinking, and it's like, all right, where's that noise coming from? And there's so many variables. It could be one of the pedals. It could be the power. It could be one of the cables. It could be you know, the amp, the power from the venue, wherever you are, et cetera, et cetera. So I picked this up. This is the Strymon Zuma. This is their biggest power supply that they make. It's 9 outputs. I think 9. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. Yeah. 2 of them you can switch between 9 volt, 12 volt, and 18 volt. And that's actually why I bought this power supply, was because I was using a wah pedal that required 18 volts. And there was another pedal, I think it was a Wampler pedal, that you could switch between 9 and 18. So I wanted something that I could very easily switch and decide which voltage was going to give me the better sound, right? So there's no easier way to do it than with that switch. And this supply, I think, is one of the only ones that does it. So I picked this up and pulled that other supply off, put this one on. Instantly, my entire rig was silent. That noise was gone. And I was like, I didn't change anything else. I didn't change the power leads, anything else. I just swapped power supplies and with this one, and instantly quiet. And we all should be hopefully sticklers about the power, right? Because there's nothing worse than some annoying hum or something getting in the way of your tone. So after that, which is kind of what happened with the pedals, I was like, okay, well, that makes me want to investigate other options when they come up. So I picked up this, which is another Zuma, but this is called the R300. And this one is only 5 outputs. One of them is switchable. Your IEC goes in here. So, you know, it's kind of the same size. It's actually a little bit longer, but it is much smaller as far as height is concerned. So if that's a concern for you, you've got one of these things. And then they make this little guy, which is called the Ojai, and this is the R30 Ojai. Again, it's 5 outputs. 2 of them are switchable, which is so fantastic. And these are 500 milliamps each. So these will power your Eventides, your TCs, of course, all the Strymon stuff just from here. And that's amazing. And then you can daisy chain into other ones if you needed more outputs. And this thing is tiny. I mean, look at the difference between these two supplies. This thing it really, I mean, it fits in the palm of your hand. Now you get something like this though, obviously there's no IEC input. That's a separate thing. So again, I use some variation of power, and I love the Strymon stuff here because it just proved to me that it's just good. Super, super quiet operation. So I got to decide how many pedals are going to be on here and what do I want. So I've got 9 outputs here. I've got 5 outputs here, and I could daisy chain into this. I could daisy chain from this into another one. So if I go with the pedals that I have now, I have 10 outputs. So we're going to have to combine or just take one away, and we'll see. We'll see what's up. And then the only other thing, 2 other things really, I love junction boxes. So this is a junction box from the Gig Rig that I used on a pedal board that we built for the 2014, 15, 16 VI World Tour. I think that's what it was. Maybe it was 12. I don't remember, but certainly that tour. So, you know, it's very simple. It's 5 in and it's 5 out. And obviously we have it color coded and it is all labeled. You can see your guitar input goes in here from the amp send to the amp return to the amp input, and then your channel switching. And it's color coded like this. because DiMarzio, the good folks over at DiMarzio, made me a couple of snakes, and they're all they're the same colors, just different lengths. Like this is a 10-foot one, but for the tour, I think we did a 20-foot one. So for like going to little jams and stuff, I'll probably take this one, which is only 10 feet. But you can see, obviously, you know, there's nothing going to be easier than matching colors with colors. If you've never put together a rig, if you've never been a tech before, it's kind of logical to do that kind of thing. So I love being able to wire up a board to a junction box, an I/O box like this. So I'm going to try to incorporate this as well. So the only other thing I want to mention before we will actually start putting this stuff down and try to wire it up, these guys right here. So these are simple, these are pedal risers. Very, very simple kind of thing. And I Velcroed them. They did not come Velcroed. But you can just see they're very thin. This is, from what I understand, this is like aerospace grade, lightweight aluminum in the particular size that would work for, you know, any of these kinds of things. I actually got these because the second row of this board, which is going to be these Strymons, I just wanted them to be lifted off the ground a little bit so that getting to them is not going to interfere with anything going on here. And this is only like 3/4 of an inch, but that's enough to just lift them up because they are big pedals to begin with. And I don't care that they're not the same width as the actual pedal. That doesn't matter. They're not going anywhere. But I got these. You know, it's surprising how hard good pedal risers are hard to find. So I finally found a company. It's fixpedalboards.com. fixpedalboards.com. They have these and tons of other pedal board riser options, and that is awesome, and they're not expensive. So I picked up 4 of these, one for each of the Strymon pedals. So again, when you're laying out your board, it's not just what pedals you want and where they go, it's what's in back and do we need to lift them up a little bit. You can get bigger ones, so you could get bigger ones to fit your power supplies underneath it, which is a really, really great idea to do. But that's kind of it. That's everything that I think about when it goes to putting together a board. And if you guys, again, if you have any questions on any of this stuff, feel free to ask. And like I said, these didn't come Velcroed. I Velcroed the top, obviously, to go together with any pedal that I'm going to put on it. And then the bottom of it, just 2 strips of Velcro here, just so it sticks to the board. So let's start putting this together, and then we're going to wire it up. So I'm going to start with that back row there. I'm going to start the last thing, as far as this is concerned, this is all going to be in front of the amp. After this row, we are going to go into the Lex and the Ola. That's the rotary and the chorus. You know, these are things that you could put in front of the amp or in back of the amp. I'm going to put them in front because I like the way that the rotary hits the front end, the preamp. You know, it almost gives it the gain a little bit more push because it's hitting the preamp. And I also like chorus that is not sterile. So again, I like it to go to the front of the amp to push the preamp just to you know, saturate it just a tiny bit more. Not that gain is, or not that chorus is really going to be a gainy type of thing, but I prefer it to go in front of the amp than in the loop. But the delay and the reverb absolutely are going to go in the loop. So I'm just going to put these together. So again, I'm just, you know, putting the pedal on the riser. Just as simple as that. And then we're going to start to place it. So I'm going to probably... I think that's probably good. I might, you know, again, you got to remember that when you're putting together a board, you can put everything down and then realize that you need to move something. So don't be afraid of that. Actually, you need to expect it so that you don't get frustrated because, you know, you want it to be the way that it should be. So I'm just gonna, the great thing about these Strymon pedals is all of the I/O is in the back here. So you can butt them up against each other and really save space on your board. And then we will put the Ola right here. And then finally the Lex. If you guys like rotary, I'm telling you, this Lex is awesome. So again, just fixing the riser to the back, all just via simple Velcro. Okay. There's the back row, right? Looking good. So let's see, what do we want to do next? I guess we can do the front row here, obviously next, which is as simple as, turning some pedals over. And yes, we gotta cable this stuff up. So I'm just gonna do a preliminary layout here of our pedals. And then we'll see if we need to move anything. I think that is a good way to start here. Again, tuner, compressor, a little bit of a colored boost here. And actually, with this EP booster, I really never turn it up. I actually leave it down. I don't really use it as a boost. I just like the color of the pedal. It blows up any amp that you're putting it on, and that's why I stopped using it in front of the Friedman, because those amps didn't really need to be blown up at all. But if you need a little boost, you certainly, I think it's a 25 dB boost. Might bring it up a little bit or something. No wah pedal. You know what, Barry? That is something that I thought of, and. Again, I'm thinking like immediate use. So for me, immediate use is tomorrow at the Philly Guitar Club Jam. A wah pedal would be great, but I don't, it's just another color. It's another texture that I could be using that I don't, a lot of times at the Jam, certainly I take my turns to solo, but I'm also doing a bit of direction, saying, all right, why don't you take a solo, why don't you take a solo, why don't you? So being kind of nailed down to my pedal board and riding a wah pedal, it's no big deal, but I did not put, obviously I didn't plan to put one on this board for tomorrow. Jacks on the back of the pedal is just great. Absolutely, absolutely. Love having everything, back here. Steve, hey buddy, how are you, man? Good to see you. That Strymon wall, though. Yeah, this is a formidable wall of the pedals that I am just absolutely loving. Like I said before, we have our Strymons here. So again, we've got 6 pedals going on here. So now we're thinking about power and where are we going to put all this stuff? Because again, this is a 24 inch by 11, and very quickly you see how this space gets eaten up, right? Speaking of that jam, sorry I won't be able to be there. Going to see Bill Frisell tomorrow. Oh, great reason not to be there. We'll forgive you, and there's always next month. I think next month is February 24th or 21st. It's one of those, whatever that Saturday is. So I'll tell you what I'm thinking. For right now. I can go 2 ways with this. This is kind of Tetris, You gotta kind of figure things out. I can go 2 ways. I can go 3 ways. Wait. Two ways. I can keep everything as is, and that means I'm going to have to use 2 power supplies. So I can use anything. I could use this guy, right here, and I can stack it with this. You know, I can put those two things right there. Might be a little bit hard to get to this though, because the power jacks are back here, and there is some space because there are slots on the side of these pedal risers, but that might be a pain. That's why I always have multiple supplies, because depending on the board that you're building, it may not work. I mean, maybe we'll turn it this way, but I don't know, that kind of sucks, just for this particular layout. So the alternative is to maybe use this supply because the jacks are coming this way. I do need one more power, so I could do that. But I don't know. I'm thinking I might just pull one pedal off the board. And I'm thinking it's going to be the EP because I know I'm using a Friedman tomorrow, and again, I just don't feel that the Friedman needs any help from a color. There's so much color in those Friedmans already. So I do think I'm going to leave everything else, but I'm going to pull the EP off, which can also mean one more thing. Because I've also got this. I've got my junction box, which I would really like to use. Again, I don't know if I'm going to be able to because I'm going to try to use existing cabling. So we'll see what can happen. But what I can simply do, well, I'm gonna need a lot of access right here. So that may mean, and I'm not using channel switching. Because the Friedman Dirty Shirley is a one-channel amp. So what I could do is this. I usually keep the junction box. I mean, listen, if I'm going to do this all up like permanently, I'm going to get risers that are big enough to hide. I would probably not use this one because this one's quite big. I would probably grab two of these guys because they are tiny. And I would, and that's probably like an inch. I would probably get risers that are just taller. Same thing, but maybe two of them that are just a little bit taller and fit them under there so that these are on top of these. So that means this space is open. I would move this back here, and etc. So in fact, maybe I'm going to order one more of these for next time. And if I decide that I want to wire something up like this, because for a grab and go, simple non-switching board, this is what it would be. This isn't going to go anywhere. The only things that would really change is what I keep up here. Maybe I want space for a wah pedal as well. So that's also something I'm thinking about. Getting rid of that, putting the supplies underneath here and here. Then I could have a wah basically right here. And this could still live up here. So that's probably what I'll do. But for now, and I'm hearing something. I'm hearing something like these might be a little loose. Again, I have used this Strymon Zuma plenty. It's a shame the power supply doesn't fit under your riser. Yeah, well that's what I meant. I bought these risers just because they were the smallest ones. Because you can see, I mean, these Strymon pedals are big. I don't need much lift, so I went with the smallest ones, and you can see, I mean, that's perfect to get up here and hit the Strymons. That's a 0.75 riser right there. It's definitely enough clearance to get over this front row. So give me 1 second. I'm gonna go grab a screwdriver real quick because I wanna tighten that up for a second. Be right back. All right, let's see if this does the trick here. That bit's a little big. Mini wah would fit perfect. That is true. And I have a mini wah on my mini board. But to be honest, I don't like it. I don't like the mini wah very much. It sounds okay. I think the bigger ones do sound better. But I just don't like the feel. It's so small that it just doesn't feel right. But when you need to save space and you need a wah, it does work, and definitely something I do keep in mind. All right, that is fixed. So we are going to put this Strymon Zuma right there. And that's kind of it. We can start wiring everything up here. Any power splitter cables possible? I know gain pedals don't use much power and no noise when just analog. Power splitter cables, I don't use them. I just use, one output per pedal is, just the standard procedure. And that's what we're going to get to right now. But before we do that, I want to show you a couple of things here. Well, one thing really in particular. So this is an anchor. You can go buy these little things at any hardware store. You can run zip ties through the bottom of them one way or another, and they come with an adhesive backing. But what I do is I cut a little Velcro square and I stick that to the adhesive so that I can take these things and put them on my board wherever I need them, and then just pull it off and move it somewhere else. It's a really great trick for putting together a pedal board. These things are super cheap. You can buy them like this in the bag at Home Depot, I believe is where I got these. So these are just 1 inch by 1 inch squares. You get 10 in a bag, and I think they're like $1 or something like that. But that's the adhesive backing, and again, all you have to do is just cut a little Velcro. Obviously the plastic side, because the felt side is what's on the board. So just cut a little square, stick it on there, and you get these reusable little things. And then right next to those at Home Depot, you're gonna find your zip ties. And these are the small ones. And you get a bag of 100 for like $1. These little zip ties are great for your cable management. That's what we're talking about now. Super geekdom type stuff. But, I like a neat pedal board. It's inspiring to look at. It's motivating to play. Engages conversation. And it's great. It's funny. Just a side story here. Quick break from the board. I was hired over the summer to go demo at a guitar show. And this was it's a store that had a booth at the guitar show, and they're a high-end PRS dealer and etc. So PRS hired me to go and demo with them. Paul Reed Smith showed up eventually, and etc. etc. I put together, I think I brought actually this big Friedman board that has the big Strymons on it and the other pedals and the buffer and patch bay thing, which is Friedman's version of it, which is fantastic. Big board, great to look at. It started so many conversations. Now, Paul Reed Smith is not a pedal guy, and he saw my board, as I knew he would, and he'd be like, "Oh, what are you playing these pedals for? You go straight into the amp." And I said, "Yeah, but you're demoing something. People want to hear how it's going to sound with pedals, with overdrives, whether you're demoing a guitar or an amp, whatever it is. Not to mention the amount of conversations that it started." So, just something smart to think about. Off the subject, if the Eagles win the Super Bowl, will you punch a horse? I am hoping that the Eagles win. We are very excited here in Philadelphia. Genius. You know what? These little square things. It's such a no-brainer, but it just takes experience to figure that kind of shit out. Because I got tired of having to like peel off, these anchors, and then you got to chuck them. And then I was like, wait a minute, why am I throwing these away? Velcro, done. How's the local music scene in the Philly area? It's great. It's fantastic. There's tons of places to play and a really great music community here, for sure. Absolutely. Okay, so where were we? We were going to start wiring this thing up. That's all we need to do. Power and audio wiring. And we have 9 pedals, we have 9 outputs from the Zuma, so we're going to use everything. I'm just wondering, I don't want to do that because I don't really need the space down here. I've never really put the patch bay in the front here, but there's no reason why we can't if we can kind of consolidate this, because we do need a bit of space right here. So let's try and do that. So what I'm going to do is start wiring the audio from here this way so we can see how much room we need. And we can probably move this guy over a little bit as well. So, like I said, I'm not going to do any custom cabling tonight because I'm still under the weather and I just don't feel like dealing with it. So I have a ton of pre-existing cabling, various patch cables and stuff that I pulled off of my last touring board, and they are all custom cables that I built. So I'm going to grab a bunch of those and we'll get started. Let's see what we have here. So all of this cabling right here, these are all cables that I made from Lava Cable. This is all Lava Cable's solderless kits that you can get. And you just measure what you need, you cut it, you create your connections, then you screw it on and you're good. All of this cabling, and again, a lot of people are a little leery of... sorry, hang on one second. Solderless connections, and I do understand why. As somebody who has toured all over the planet multiple times, your cabling can certainly fail, and a lot of that is just from being jostled around so much. All of this solderless cable was from the board that I used 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, and last year 17. I forgot that we took this stuff down to South America and then over to Norway. I did not take it to the India trips. I didn't take anything to those trips, but never had a problem. Never once had a problem with this solderless stuff. So this is my current cache of cables, and I'm just going to try and pull some stuff out. Now, I don't believe that I made stuff small enough from this batch, but I know that I've got smaller cables around here somewhere. So we're going to put these down for now, and I'm going to, I know I've got little cables around here somewhere. Sorry, give me 1 second. Okay, so yeah, I did find a few very small cables that I built from the same kind of kit. So we're going to use that, again, just to get this done. I'm just going to use these and anything else that I have laying around. I have pre-existing like solid cables, patch cables, DiMarzio patch cables. But before we do that, I want to show you this. So this is another pedal riser. This was built by Bob Bradshaw from Custom Audio Electronics. And this one even has the IEC connector on the end of it that you could wire in there. And I got these because these, I can fit these power supplies underneath. The problem was, and the reason I'm not using is because it just lifts the pedals, these particular pedals that I want in the back row, it lifts them off of the pedal board just too far. So that's why I went and found a smaller version. But these things are great. Okay, so let's see what we can do here as far as patching together some of this stuff. So I'm going to try and move this stuff over as much as possible so that we can utilize this this guy right here. I'm just going to tighten these things up here. I'll put this one in here instead. Cool. We are good. All right, so that's wired up nicely with these tiny little cables that I made for this purpose. And again, this is all lava cables, solderless cabling stuff that works really well, very nicely. And now we have enough space here that we can bring everything in and just connect right here. So the snake can go in here and everything here can stay where it is. Now, I don't need that. I could just plug my guitar into here and then come out of here to the front and send and return. There's really no problem. But if I can, maybe I can't, we'll see. But if I can, I do like to use the I/O box. So that means from the guitar input, I just need a cable that's going to go here. And then I need a cable that's going to go here into the front of the Lex. So let me figure that out right there. And I've got, maybe these will work. No, that's too short, unfortunately. Yeah, that's going to be too short. How about this guy? No, that's going to be too short. All right, looking for long. This one's going to be, that one's going to be good. So let's try this. We having fun yet? Is this fun? Is this fascinating to watch a pedal board be put together? I'm sick. I wasn't going anywhere tonight anyway. So I figured what the hell, and I needed to get this done. So what I'm going to do, again, is utilize the lift here of the, between these risers. I'm going to utilize the space that I have. Actually, I'm going to put it through the middle. And there we go. And that's actually a little too long, but for now, I think it'll be okay. And, because, yeah, we'll anchor this stuff down here. And then I need a patch cable to go from here to here. I need a cable to go from here to here. I need a patch cable to go from here to here. And I need a cable to go from here back to here. So maybe I can use this little guy. No, that's a little too small. This one's little. Maybe I can use this. All right, so I've got that connected to that, and then we need to go from here back to here. And we're coming from the front row into the front of this, so that's all good. So now I just want to connect these two, and then get the cables run from here into here. So let's see what else I've got in this giant mess of cabling. So here's a nice small one that we can use for this. We could probably even go smaller. I don't know if I have anything smaller down here right now. But I do have some smaller cabling right here. That's the same size basically. Oh, okay, well we'll just leave this. We'll leave this as is. Okay, so let's connect this other stuff that we have. Sorry, I'm just looking through. I think this purple one's gonna be fine. I'm learning here, so thanks for sharing your Friday. Oh, good, Evelyn. Glad to hear it. Get in there. All right, so we're jumped from here to here, and then from here to here. We are going from here to here, and now we need to come from here back. So very quickly, this can become a rat's nest, but that's what the cable management is for, which we do. We don't do it, I mean, you know, yeah, I'm gonna anchor that stuff down last, but it's in my mind, like, how are we gonna do it? So I can like start placing some anchors. So I know I'm gonna have an anchor like right here. And we can just start to put some anchors along this little path where they're gonna live. And it depends on how anal you want to get with this stuff. I see some people, they literally put, you know, anchors next to each other. And so everything is zip tied like that. I think that's a little excessive. I think too many anchors also doesn't look good, just as much as none. But I think like this right here with 4 anchors is going to be good for the audio anyway, because don't forget, we're going to have 9 freaking cables coming out of that as well, which is a lot, but it is what it is. There's really nothing we can do about it. Okay, so what did we want to do? We want to go from the amp send, so we need a cable to go from here to the front of this guy. So I think this is still going to be too short, maybe? I'm going to try something else. Let's try this guy here. Oh, that's too short. How about this? This should work. This we might want to use for the return. So we're going to come out of the blue sky here to the return jack, because that's got to go back to the head. We're coming from the head with the amp send into the effects that are going to be in the loop, and then out of the loop back to the amp return. So this one's a nice long one. So let's try and make this happen. It might be a little short. Damn it! Let's see what we can do. think I do have one longer one. This is definitely helpful. I've used multi-effect pedal with a looper after it for years, and more recently have been leaning toward downsizing and getting individual pedals instead. You know, I used to use multi-effects and all that kind of stuff over the years. I mean, we're talking way back to like the the Digitech GSP 2101, if you remember that back in the day. I just want to make sure I'm plugging into the right stuff here. And I've just never found a multi-effects unit that sounds as good as single ones. I also just like the simplicity. But again, everybody's different. I know plenty of pro playing friends who prefer multi-effects. Oh, it's gonna be just a little too short, but maybe, hang on. Let's try and put it through this instead. Okay, I think that will work. It may not be the prettiest, but we have a solution for that right there as well. Okay, we're just gonna leave it again, just to get this thing done for tomorrow. We're gonna leave that. So I still need to go from here to the dig. So I hopefully have another one of these. Yeah, definitely. Let's use the purple one, just so it's designated as something different. Oh, that's close. That's a little too short, actually. All right. Let's find something else. This one's a little bit longer. All right, this one should work. Oh, come on. Come on, you bastard. Why? Why, Dimmy? Why, Dimmy? Anybody know what that's from? Why, Dimmy? Why? Anybody know what that's from? I'm curious if people know that. Why, Dimmy? Yeah, that one's a little short as well, but I think it'll be okay. The Exorcist, yes, exactly. One of the best movies of all time. Okay. That should be good. Now, I will also say that probably should be testing this all along the way. Because if you wire this up, let's put it this way, I'm not going to cable tie anything until it is tested. Because if you wire it all up and you zip tie everything down and then it doesn't work, you're screwed. Because, you know, yeah, you can still troubleshoot, but you definitely want to keep that in mind. That's something that people forget. Okay, so we are in and out of here successfully. We need to come out of here into this. So we need a smaller cable. Let me try this black one here. Amp input should work.
Perfect. Easy enough. We may even want to split this into 2 cable ties. Be super nerdy about it. We'll deal with that. No channel switching for this build, so that'll be fine. That's it for audio. Guitar's coming in. We've got a connector from the output of that into this, which is feeding all of this. We're coming out of here into here. We're coming out of here into here. We're coming out of here back to here. Coming from the amp send to the front of the dig, that is jumped to the blue sky, out of the blue sky to the amp return. Audio cabling done. Now we are on to the dirty work. I call it dirty work because every single power supply comes with cabling that is just way too freaking long. So what is the solution? Well, I have found 2 so far. Gummy bear break. So this is another kit by Lava Cable, and it's basically the same thing. You build your own cables, but this is power. This is custom power cabling. You just measure and cut, get it into the jack, tighten it up, and you're good. But again, I'm running on super low energy from being sick, so I'm not going to deal with that. But all the instructions on how to do it are right there, and etc. We are going to just deal with the rat's nest that's going to inevitably incur from using standard cabling. The Lex after the gain pedal, but before the amp. Yes. And that brings up a good point is, again, I don't do too much stacking, in series here. The compressor, sure, maybe. Maybe a very slight boost, like an RC, into something else. But I really don't do it that much. I very much so am an individual pedal user. But with the Lex, none of these will be on. Maybe the compressor, but I'm not going to run gain into this. And that's one of the reasons I love the Lex, because it has a knob right here that says preamp drive. So you can get like a really nice dirty Leslie sound from cranking up the preamp drive gain. I mean, you could kind of do the same thing from bringing that down and running an overdrive in the front of it, but I don't want to do that, So yeah, again, I'm putting the order together here just with the way that I use everything. I'm not going to boost these 2 with one of these overdrives. So I'm safe with that. By the way, the Wampler Paisley Deluxe, very nice pedal, just FYI. It's just sitting here on my desk. What am I doing? Power. Okay. Let me grab some power. All right, this is where it gets messy. So these are some Strymon power cables. Brand new, never used. And they are long. Well, the companies that are selling this stuff, yeah, they have to make them long so that you can reach one side of your board to another. For the most part, obviously you have a big board. You got to do something, put the supply in the middle and blah, blah, blah. I understand why they ship with long cables, but it is hard to deal with. So I'm sorry, I was mentioning power cable solutions. The Lava Cable is one solution. Daniel Steinhardt, great guy over in the UK, has a company called the Gig Rig. He makes awesome stuff. I used his switcher and power supplies on the last bunch of Vi tours. We did a rig rundown for his show, That Pedal Show. You can check that out on YouTube. I did another one for Tom Quayle and his crew, which is called the Guitar Hour. Kind of talked about all the same stuff, but in different ways, and it was very cool. But his power solution is also modular, so you get this little thing, and then when you need to, you add on more little small devices. That's fantastic. Then the cabling is also fantastic because, again, it's measure and cut, and that's it. Easiest way, but they have the easiest power solutions by far, in my opinion. So what do we have here? We have 5. Okay, well, that's not enough. And these look like they're all the same thing. I have a Lex, but run it in the loop. Yeah, I mean, you know, again, you can run them in the loop. You can run them in front. I like to put the rotary stuff in the front of the amp, so it's hitting the preamp. But either way, you know, again, that's the kind of stuff that you just have to experiment with. Some people like to modulate 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Why did they send me? Never mind. Now I'm just thinking to myself, how did they send me a power supply that has 9 outputs and only send 5 cables? But this came 5 cables with the R30. This came 5 cables with the R300 because each of them only has 5 outputs. So I am the dumbass. Human error as always. But oh, look what we can do. We can combine them. And now we have 10 and we only need 9 for our Zuma. So we can take one and throw it away for later use. And yes, this is what we're going to be dealing with on the board, this massive amount of cabling, but we'll be okay. We just need to take a look at what we need as far as the cable, the pedals that are farthest away. We're gonna do first. So I'm gonna start, and this is 1 right angle and one straight. So we got to decide what's gonna be what. I'm feeling we're gonna come straight out of the Zuma and right angle into the pedals. And the closest port I'm going to use for the farthest away pedal, obviously, because that just makes sense. And I'm just seeing where it is and how we can get to it as best as possible. And that is even a little bit too far away. And I'm wondering, well, first of all, oh my God. This is why I don't use dual lock. Dual lock is insanely strong. And Velcro is insanely strong. So it's like, why do I need to use dual lock when I've already got an insanely strong thing? So yeah, I'm not going to want to use straight out of that. So what I think I'm going to do for that pedal right there is simply, sorry, I got to take this off one more time. Oh my God. Just to leave a little space right here so I can run some other cabling, but I'm going to find a longer cable. As insane as that is, I need to find a longer cable, which I'm sure I have around here somewhere. But I'm going to save that one port for that, and we can start to go to the other ports. So we're going to run into, We're going to run into the Maxon OD9. I'll do that right there. And we're going to want at least one of these guys right here. And I'm thinking we'll do the dig. You know, honestly, I wish both of these ends were right angle, but because it's really easy to step accidentally like right there and you're done. But on the other side, coming straight out of these just sucks. Doesn't look good. And that's part of this whole thing, is the aesthetics of what we're looking at, you know? All right, let's run into the blues pedal. And put that guy right there. I'm guessing we're going to want another one of these somewhere around here. It doesn't really matter what we take care of next. Why don't we go ahead and do the Ola. The Ola is really such a great chorus pedal. I was so impressed with this thing when I first plugged it in. Oh, whoops. What? This is dual right angle. Did I just become a wizard and change these other ones into, yes, these are all right angle to right angle? How the hell did that happen? Well, now it's making me want to get up, as much as I love to be lazy, and find my other bag of Strymons, because they might be right to right, and that's what I'm looking for. So, give me 1 second. Okay. I have succeeded in finding more right to right cabling, which is going to, it's going to be a little bit better situation for me. So that does mean we're gonna undo a couple of things, but again, that's part of the build process. Sometimes you just gotta spend the time to undo and redo to get the best situation. So we're gonna save these guys for another time. Still using the Maxon and the RC booster. Yeah, you know, if you've known me for a while, these have been staples on my on my various boards for a long time, and various versions of them. I mean, the RC, it's one of those pedals that just works very well with any kind of configuration when you need just a little bit of gain. Maxon, I go through, like on the other board, on my Friedman board over here, the VOP9. That is such a fantastic pedal. It's crazy. But it does compress, you know? It does compress naturally by itself. So sometimes I don't want as much compression. This has less compression, the OD9. And then, of course, there's the Maxon 808, which was kind of the start of it all. There's the Maxon OD9 Pro Plus, which is a beefier version of this that I've got sitting over here on the table. That's another fantastic one. It's just variations of these green pedals depending on what you're looking for. Okay, so let's try this again. And are these all the same length? Looks like we got one long... Nope. That guy was hiding. Yeah, for the most part, these are all the same thing. All right, well, that's good. Let's get back to it. It's good because now we can right angle down out of the Zuma far less. First of all, it looks better. Second of all, it's far less of a chance that you're going to step on it and break off the end, damage your pedal, damage your power supply, etc., etc. Let's run this front row first, actually. 1, 2, 3, 4. And this is another thing. It's just about organization. When you're on tour and something goes wrong, you need to be able to find it as fast as possible. So even down to your power supply and how you order everything. So I'm saving the first 4 for this and then these other ones for this. So if something would go down, I know exactly where it is. Now, again, if I was going on tour and if this was a board that I was leaving permanently like this, I would label every one of these power outlets according to what pedal it was. I may even color code the cables themselves. Again, just so it's very like this, just so it's very easy to see. But I would certainly label right here little labels that would tell me which port is going to what pedal. Because when you're on stage and something goes down, every second feels like a million years, and it feels like you're standing there naked in front of thousands of people. Luckily, over the almost 2 decades that I've been touring, I really haven't had catastrophic gear failure. I have witnessed it. Vi has had his share of catastrophic gear failure. By the way, pedal makers, stop putting your ports on the side. That sucks. And that's not fun to deal with catastrophic gear failure for anybody. I'm going to make sure these are both at 9 volt because I'm just going to run these 2 out of those switchable ports, which again, just fantastic. If you miss that, it's like this, where on this one, this is the Ojai R30, there are 2 switchable ports that go from 9 to 12 to 14 to 18. And that's so awesome because there are many pedals where you can run at 18, but maybe you don't know if it's the right sound, so you need to switch between 9 and 18. Having that switch right there is really, really awesome. All right, and then we need one more for this guy right here. And you see I'm taking the cable and I'm bending it back this way because I'm going to cable tie it down here because otherwise we've just got so much material down here. So I'm going to run it this way instead. So there's my power for the front row. Nicely done. And again, we're gonna take care of the cable management after we're done right now. So now I just need 4 for the back row, and I still need a longer one for this, which I will have to go find, and I believe I have one. And yeah.
Hey Dave, how are you, buddy? Pitch black here in Scotland, but we've got Guitopia to see me through the night. Yes, we do. Glad to see you. I love Scotland. I'm looking forward to coming back. Some of my fondest memories in my college days were in Scotland in the Highlands. I went to school for a little bit at the University of London, and we had some time off for a break or something, and me and some friends traveled around a bit, and we ended up in the Highlands of Scotland, and it was just insanely beautiful, and had a great time with, meeting local people, and oh man, it's just so great. I've always wanted to go back. I've been back to Scotland many times on tour, but I've never had enough time to hang out for a while and get up to the Highlands again. But really, really awesome. Come on. Okay, there we go. All right. Again, when you're putting together your board, be aware of your cabling, but it's going to pile up inevitably. It's going to happen, so don't freak out about it. It's all for the greater good. It's all for the purpose, as we know. I'm sure your liver may have just about recovered. Yeah. All right, and then we just need one more, and unfortunately these stock power cables are just not quite long enough to get us where we need to go. So excuse me one more time, because I've got other cables and I believe I've got longer ones than this. So I'm gonna go find that real quick. All right, so I found a really long power cable, and as long as the ports are good, I mean the connectors are good, we should be fine, and it looks like they're gonna work. This one is super long though, but that's okay, it's what's needed. Okay. Hey Ryan, do you try to avoid running your power and signal cables in parallel to avoid noise? Yes, that is a good idea to do, but it's impossible sometimes, Again, we've got some overlapping here, and on this particular board, it's going to be impossible to do. I have found, though, that with the right cabling, it doesn't really affect it. If you use crappy cables, it may, but good cabling, it should be shielded enough to be fine, and I believe that this stuff is. So, what we're gonna do is plug it in. Before we cable tie this stuff down, we need to test this. So, I'm trying to think of a way where I can do that and leave it right here. Let me try and do that. So I need power. All right, sorry, give me another second.
Okay, so first, does everything turn on? And it looks like everything is turning on except for the blue sky. Oh, there we go. I apparently was not pushing enough. Okay. Power-wise, we are all good. And if you can see, another reason that I really like the Strymon stuff is, you know, on all of their gear, every power port has a light that's either going to be green or red. Obviously, everything is green, and even on these little guys, it still has the indicator of if things are working. So power-wise, I would think that we're good to go. What we obviously need to do is make sure that sound is getting through everything the way that we would expect it to. So let me get everything wired up. Again, because we wired up everything through a patch bay, I don't need to come anywhere except to right here with 4 cables to try this thing out. So give me a second, let me get that happening, and we will see if this works or not. Okay, so I've got the snake happening here, but I just have a random guitar cable going in since you know, these snakes are built with a wireless in mind, which I don't even know why anymore because I don't use wireless anymore, but at the time I was. So I just, you know, I'm not using channel switching and I'm not using the guitar input. So the other end, this would plug in here usually, and the other end of this would go to the output from a wireless, but I'm not using wireless anymore. So I'm just gonna plug a random cable into that. And let's see what happens here. So, well, that's a good start. We have signal. Okay, so we've got signal. We have tuner input. I'm playing through this new Les Paul that I got a couple weeks ago. Excellent. The Ego, again, which I don't really use on a distorted channel. But it's obviously it's working because when I turn the volume all the way down, all right, so that's working fine. How about the RC? So you can hear it really just adds, I just use it to add just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of gain. And then my blues pedal here. Working great. The OD9 sounds like it's working fine as well. The Lex. That's such a great pedal. The Ola. Yeah, just fantastic. The Dig. Whoop. There we go. And then the Blue Sky. We are go. Everything is working and sounding fantastic. We are now ready to just tighten this up a little bit with a little cable management. So again, that was just for FYI. This is a 2014 Gibson Custom Shop 57 reissue Les Paul, lightly aged. It sounds so good it'll make you cry. And that was into the front of a Friedman Smallbox 50, the white amp over here. But we're all good. We're all good. Everything is working. We have successfully put together our board. Now, obviously, we're going to tidy it up a little bit because we can't have this laying all around here.
The board is awesome. Thank you. Appreciate it. Like the Field of Dreams, awesome. Do you have any alternatives for a similarly functioning board, but at say half the price or lower? You know, you get what you pay for. I mean, yeah, I would say there is obviously truth to that, but it's so personal. You know, everybody's ear is different, and so that's why I said, I love what Strymon is doing. I love their engineering. The fact that if I hit both of these buttons and twist any knob, I'm accessing secondary menus, secondary functions. But, there are no menus. It's very simple. All my knobs are here. I wanted simplicity, but just ridiculously good sounding gear. And to me, Strymon is on top. Overdrives, again, you may not like the OD9 or the RC or the Ego. There are certainly cheaper versions. There are certainly more expensive versions. It depends on what you go for. This is what I go for right now. And again, you can't skimp on a good power supply. That's like having a Lamborghini and putting cheap tires on it. This is the heart of all of this. If this is crappy, all this might sound, first of all, you may not have the right power to make everything sound the way it's supposed to. Second of all, it may not power at all. Third of all, it may be really noisy. I didn't hear any noise coming out. Everything sounded the way it should, tone-wise and noise-wise. You're playing through a gained-up amp, you're going to have some noise. You put on an overdrive pedal, you're going to have some noise. That's to be expected, but it shouldn't be more than anything like you would expect. Hey, Alex. Been a while since I've been around. Where are your cabs now? Are you still using the cabinet box thing you built? The cab that I'm playing through right now that you just heard is in the next room, which is adjoined to this room. It's a Friedman, that's a Mesa 212, but only one of it's a V30 cab, a Mesa 212 V30 cab. One of the speakers is mic'd with a Shure 57, and that's going through a BAE Audio 1073 mic pre, which is like a Neve clone, into the Universal Audio Apollo 16, which are the converters getting me into the computer. No modeling, digital cabinet simulation, etc., etc. Nothing wrong with that if that's what you like, but I'll take the real thing. So that's what we're hearing right now. I do use the ISO box that I built. It's down at my drummer's studio, and we do use it when we record, and he's got other people in there that record, and I'll tell you what, man, that thing sounds amazing for very little money and a little bit of work and a trip to Home Depot. I like that blues pedal. Is that a custom built prototype? Yes, again, I mentioned earlier that this was built for me to again, my specs of what I wanted in a pedal a long time ago, and unfortunately the builder died. I am in talks to get it mass produced by a company that everybody knows, so we'll see. Hopefully we can make that happen. I'm considering building a box in my garage. Absolutely. Well, again, if you've heard my second record on Revolut, everything on that record was recorded through the cabinet that you just heard, and then that cabinet was put into the ISO box that I made. And I could tell people that the most popular producer in the most amazing studio ever recorded that guitar sound. Nobody would know the difference that it was recorded in a basement in an ISO box. It sounds so good. If you haven't heard that, you can find it on iTunes and take a listen. But amazing guitar tones, in my opinion. Exactly what I was going for. All right, geez, we've been going for 2 hours. Let's get this wrapped up. I'm having a good time. Whoops. Sorry about that. So, again, we want to kind of wrap this up by just doing a little bit of cable management here.
which might be a bit of a task, but we're going to do what we can for now. So looking at this, I'm going to start to zip tie things together down here. So again, we've got our bag of zip ties that you get at Home Depot or any of those kind of places for like, you know, $1 for 1 billion of them. And, you know, it's a little tiny thing, and you just take it into our anchors and you just put it through the little slots here so that it's under it like that, and then you bring it obviously over your cables and you tie it up. And then you cut the end with the scissors. And what I would recommend doing is what I'm about to do right here, where I'm gonna you know, set it up, but I'm not gonna make it super tight in there just yet. I'm gonna get everything in place as far as the zip ties and the cabling that I'm thinking will be good. And one thing you'll notice I just did right here, I guess you can't see it, but you know, the jack, I'm not going to have it pointing this way. I'm going to turn it and point it this way so that it eats up more cabling. It's just a little trick to pull some cabling this way to get a little bit more out of it over here, because there's a lot going on over here. And then I try to make the cabling as flat as possible. Again, it just kind of makes it a little neater. Another zip tie here. And again, get the zip tie going, but don't tighten it up yet, because you may need to make some adjustments. But you know, I'm gonna just get everything where I think it's gonna be. Okay, and now we start getting into like a real mess right here at this pedal, but oops. Actually, maybe I'll, yeah. So all I'm trying to do is kind of squeeze together the cabling and just make it look somewhat nicer, somewhat presentable. Not that that really matters, but again, it's just nice to have it look good. Orly, you're very welcome, man. You're very welcome. Thank you for joining me on this pedal board building journey. And again, if I was doing this as an absolute permanent board that I was, you know, definitely going to be using for quite a while, and this will be, I would do all custom cabling, so you don't have to deal with any of this. This drives me crazy with how much cabling there is, so I would make custom power cables and custom audio cables. But again, this is kind of a trial run for this. If this goes well and I decide that I don't need to put a wah or a volume or anything else in here, again, for a smaller board like this, you do have to be realistic about what you can put on it. This is just trial for now, and then if I say, yep, cool, let's leave it like this, that's when I'll come back, rip out just the audio. I'll leave everything, just rip out the audio and the power, and actually do the custom work to get rid of all of this excess cabling. You know, I think I'm going to put one more anchor right in between these other ones, just because they are, there's a lot going on right here. kind of think that's it. And again, I mean, this cabling mess looks horrendous, but just for first versions of the board to see what's happening, that's good enough. So at this point, I'm just going to tighten up the zip ties a bit. And then I need a scissors to cut all these off. But again, I would, this line of cabling right there is something I could never stand on a permanent basis. So again, I would find a different solution. I would probably get risers where I can put all of that underneath it. That's really the best solution to do. But for now, a quick little jam board, that's good enough. And that's kind of it. We are at the end of our journey. We have successfully planned, laid out, assembled, and wired, and tested our board. Excellent. If it makes you feel better, it looks really tidy on video. Excellent. Well, again, after I cut off these, I got to go find the scissors, but after I cut these off, it'll be fine. Now, I mean, one thing that I may do, you know what? Give me a second. Give me a second. We'll cut these off, and then I'll show you one more trick that can kind of deal with this mess right here. Hang on. All right, so again, with my scissors here, I'm just gonna cut off the excess of the zip ties. And I didn't make the zip ties super tight because I know I'm gonna cut them off to redo the wiring. Obviously, make sure you're not cutting any of your cables. Okay. Will you be uploading this to Guitopia, as I didn't catch the whole thing? You know, I did not record this separately. I don't know if YouTube will let me download it, but it'll be on YouTube. As far as I know, this will stay on YouTube unless I take it off or something. So I'm hoping that I can share it, at least share the link. I could do that. And by the way, if you're not subscribed here to the Guitopia channel, I've got a ton of new content, free content coming to this channel in the near future. So hit subscribe, please, and like it. So one more thing that we can do to kind of make this mess look a little bit better that I learned from Thomas Nordig, who is the great guitar tech to Steve Vai and Frank Zappa and tons more. You know, he showed me that you can take pieces of Velcro like this, so you have the fuzzy side on one and the plastic side on another, and just make these little, whatever you want to call these things. And you can place them over your cabling just to tidy everything up. So one thing that we could do is make a sliver that goes all the way down. Why don't we go ahead and do that? Let me grab my Velcro. I can turn the amp off. We can get rid of the snake since we tested everything already and everything is good. Snake is ready to go for tomorrow. Give me a sec. Okay. Too much cabling. As always, laying around. So, this is the Velcro that I use. Velcro brand, industrial strength, heavy duty stick-on, blah, blah, blah. Again, Home Depot, Walmart even, and it's extremely strong, and it is all I have ever used on any board, and these boards have been around the planet numerous times. Ow. Okay. So what we're going to do is make a long strip of Velcro here to just cover up that mess. So I'm going to take out my crow, as Thomas calls it, his crow. And we just want to do a little measuring. Now, because we only need one side, really. We only need the plastic side. So I don't need to do the felt side, the fabric side. Actually, we do, because otherwise we're just going to have a sticky top. And it might be a little bit of a tight fit in there, so I might have to chop it down a little bit up here. Maybe we'll make two pieces. So I'm going to make one piece up to here, somewhere around here. So this piece will go right about here. And all this is going to do is just cover up the unsightly mess that we have right there. And then we're going to do one more piece. It's going to be this long, but we're going to have to trim the width of it a bit. So first I'm just cutting the plastic side to size. Yeah, we can do something like that, but what do we got to do? We got to chop it down like here. This is not the best way to do it. Thomas likes to just rip the Velcro because it's apparently just easier to do it and you get a nicer cut. But or if you have like a good, yeah, okay, so that's what we're looking for right there. And now what we want to do stop playing with, uh-oh, we lost our light here. Stop playing with Velcro and give me Guitopia 2.0. Believe me, I work on Guitopia 2.0 every single day. I'm not doing any coding, but I am the designer. And the wait will absolutely be worth it. It is coming along very nicely. Okay, so now we need to make the other side, the fabric side. So I'm going to take the plastic side and just stick it right on the fabric side. And now we've got our measurement that we can cut. Okay. Now that we have that, now we can peel off each side and do this carefully. I'm just going to lay this up here. And then you're going to peel off the other side. And now, again, do this carefully. Oh my God, all the cabling. Okay, there we go. So now we have a nice strip of Velcro that's got fabric on one side and plastic on the other. And now we can just use that and just cover up all that stuff right there. Again, not a big deal, but it does just look better, right? Because now you can't even see the cabling, whereas here we've got this whole big snake of cabling going on. So it's just a nice little thing to do. And now we just need to do the same thing with this guy right here. I need a little more fabric. Lay it down. Let's get rid of this giant spool. And then we do need to cut this. Let me see if I can go get that light back on. Hang on. Okay, there we go. Got a fickle light over there. Alex says, I missed the beginning. What is the pedalboard base? It's a Gator. It's called the Gator, which you can get at most music retailers like Sweetwater. Couple $100. It's a really nice board. Okay, now we just do the same thing. If I can get this back off. Holy crap. Wow, that was difficult. Oh no. That is sticky. Okay. Fabric on one side, plastic on the other. And again, we're just using this to cover up some of that cabling. And that's it. It kind of works. Kind of doesn't, but it's better than looking at a whole bunch of cabling. And that's it. We are done with the board. It is ready to go jam tomorrow, which is going to be a lot of fun. And I highly recommend you guys and gals organize jams in your area because it is such a valuable thing to do. Cool. Any final questions before we call it a night? Thank you for keeping me company, by the way. I would be doing this by myself regardless, but I figured, hey, let's do this live. So almost 2.5 hours later. Yeah, obviously we talked about a lot of stuff. If I was doing this by myself, it would have been a ton faster. But it's good to talk through this stuff. A lot of people don't have the experience that goes into saying, well, why did I do this? What's the order? Blah, blah, blah. That looks better than most of those rig rundowns. Well, I forgot a little bit right here, but again, we don't need to do that just for tomorrow's rig. But maybe I'll use one of these guys. I like clean pedal boards. They've always been inspiring to me to just see cleaner boards. Boards that are a mess, I just don't like it. I like organization. That's just motivating to me. So, we do this kind of stuff and it works. Yeah. Cool, everybody. Well, thank you again for hanging out with me tonight on our Friday night. And I hope everybody has a great weekend. Hopefully you learn some cool things to put together your own board as best as possible. When I come back around and I decide what's going to be permanent here, maybe we'll jump back on and we'll do this live again. But with all of the final decisions. Like I said, we'll probably get a riser that will fit these guys in, and we'll stick those underneath so all of the cabling can be underneath, which is always a nicer option. But for now, just a grab-and-go jam board. This is good enough. Cool. Excellent, everyone. Like I said, have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.